At what point did you feel like I'm going to win this fucking thing?
So I'd be working like 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. and then I'd go home, just cook all night until like 3 a.m.
And how'd you get into cooking?
I didn't get into cooking really until I left home for good.
What was that journey like? It would have been a different journey than anything you've ever been on.
I was going through a mental period during MasterChef. And so many people forget this, but I went on MasterChef as a home cook. Like, my knife skills are shocking.
And, you know, the next potential winner is probably watching this. So what's one piece of advice you'd give them?
I think what people do quite a lot is like they compare.
On this episode of the Hospo Dojo Podcast, I sit down with Nat Thaipun, winner of MasterChef Australia 2024, to chat about food, the hospitality grind, and what life really looks like after reality TV. It's a raw, honest conversation about passion, resilience, and making your mark as a female chef in the hospitality industry. Natalie, welcome to the Hospo Dojo Podcast. Thank you for joining.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for flying down from Melbourne, a favourite top city of mine. We love it. My wife and I genuinely enjoy our time in Melbourne all the time. Melbourne's always been a great place for us. We have a lot of true fans in Melbourne, I truly believe, and I see that no matter what Melbourne goes through, Melbourne is Melbourne and no one can take that away from them. And were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in Melbourne, although more of like in the suburbs.
Whereabouts?
So in Sunbury.
Okay.
Yeah. So
tell us a little bit about Sunbury.
My parents had a restaurant there. They opened it in 1992 and they moved there because it was like what they could afford at the time, like rent-wise. And they were actually the first ever Thai restaurant out there. So I'm like smiling about it now, but it was like racially hard. It was intense. Like we were the first Asian family.
What was the school name?
Macedon Grammar. Yeah, so I grew out in the outback. My parents' property was backed onto like this indigenous land that was a sacred like wedding ceremony.
Wow.
So it was actually gorgeous. Like a lot of people from RMIT who study like native Australian like history will go there quite a lot. And I never used to know why there were so many buses that would rock up to our house. Like they'd park right next to our house and they would go look at this land. And then
So how far is Sunbury from Melbourne?
it's like it used to be probably like a 25-minute drive on the highway, but now with the traffic and everything, it's a lot further.
So it's like 40 minutes or something.
Yeah. On the trains, probably like 45 to an hour. But I went to school in Macedon Grammar, which was like on the base of Mount Macedon. So it was like in the middle of the bush. We would like get to run around everywhere in the bush, and you know it was one of those schools where like if it was hotter than like 28 degrees,
Everyone's a day off.
Yeah, because it was just bushfire warnings all the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, let's find out a little bit about Nat. So you went to this school, you ran away for some bushfires, you lived in Sunbury.
Yeah, lived in Sunbury. My parents had a restaurant. They worked really hard. We didn't really see them a huge amount.
And are they both Thai, your parents?
My parents are both Thai. And obviously grew in the outdoors. And because my parents were always working, we didn't really have anyone that looked after us in particular. Like I kind of looked after my brothers. And we spent most of our time outside, like just playing in like the sticks and the dirt and just like skating down hills and stuff like that. And my grandma was introduced into our life like a lot. I can't remember what age, but she kind of became someone who looked after us, like our guardian. And she, was cooking a lot of Thai food, but she was cooking like proper Thai food. Like she'd be cooking like outside, like using the mortar and pestle, like on the ground, like doing everything like really properly, and causing chaos essentially. Like I was causing chaos and my grandma was causing chaos, and my grandma just did not understand why we were playing outside so much. Because like in Thai culture and Asian culture, it's like a big no. Like if you are generating enough income, you should be inside playing with computers because you're making enough money to like play with computers, if that makes sense.
Right.
So you shouldn't be like, spending too much time outside.
But is it a safety thing too? Like where I'm from, I'm from Jordan, right? And when I'd always go back and visit my grandparents, I was told I wasn't to be outside after 4 p.m.
Whoa. No, it's not a safety thing.
Okay.
It's just purely for like, you know, like you don't want to like darken our skin as well. Because like it's, you know, it shows that you're spending too much time outside, which means that you're not from like a higher economic background. Wow. So like the higher amount of money you have in Asia in general means that like you could spend more time inside, and so the fairer your skin will be. It's a whole thing. And this is why they have like whitening creams in Asia.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, but for us Aussies, we love the sun. We're
I
like,
know.
hey, get us outside. You know, for us, if someone is, if someone's be able to be outdoors, get some sun, swim in the beach.
Recreational time.
You have recreational time. you have freedom.
Yeah.
You have freedom, right?
It's like I was at Bronte today, and I've never been there before. But I looked at everyone around me and I was like, it's a Monday. Like, why is it so packed? I was like, it's so busy.
And that's the weird paradox, right? And and I guess that's where, you know, cultures change and we start appreciating things that others wish for, and what someone else appreciates, we don't wish for. Like it's like, and that's the beauty of life, is that, you know, you can choose your own path. And I always say this, that we're so blessed to be in Australia. No matter who you are, what religion you come from, what colour your skin is, we're all Australian, and you will always belong here.
Yeah,
you know,
totally.
And that's super nice. So, if there's anyone that's listening here and not feeling like their home is home, Australia's always open. If you can get in, you're welcome.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, I truly find that, you know, we can go to sleep at night knowing that we belong somewhere.
Yeah, 100%. And such a multicultural country, like very, very lucky.
Of course. And you would have learned a lot about the, you know, the indigenous being so close to the homeland of them and back in Ireland. You would have had a lot of research. Did you end up picking up about it or learning more about it?
I did. It definitely sparked my interest in it. I didn't really learn much about it at school, like in primary school especially. That's probably one of the things that Australia kind of lacks and falls behind on quite a lot. But I was really interested in like playing in the backyard, and my brother and I would see like the sign, and it was talking about like the wedding ceremonials, and I've always been interested in it. So when I went to uni, I actually studied environmental science and social science. And one of my electives was learning about like Indigenous culture.
Nice.
And then even like in high school, my brothers and I, like separately, but we went to Arnhem Land, and I went to Cape York and went to like Kakadu National Park.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was amazing. It kind of sparked my interest in the degree I decided to study.
To pursue. And how'd you get into cooking?
So obviously grew up with really, really good food with my grandma and my parents as well. But I didn't get into cooking really until I left home for good. Like not even when I moved out. Like when I moved out, because I live in Melbourne, and being a uni student, I was surrounded by really good, cheap Asian food. So that was fine. Like I'd never really cooked then, and living in a share house with like a whole bunch of boys, trying to like maintain a fridge is so hard that I just gave up on trying to cook. And so it wasn't until I moved to New Zealand, I moved to Wanaka, a town of 8,000 people, and when it's like peak winter season or peak summer season, it goes up to like 55,000 people.
Wow.
It's insane. Like the businesses, like they struggle a lot there because of the fluctuation, like the small period where it goes back down to like 8,000 people. It's like you're kind of screwed.
Well, you look at Europe, right? And I feel like Australians and New Zealanders, even Asians, they don't get this like the Europeans.
Yeah.
The Europeans build restaurants for the summertime.
Yeah.
They know in these 3 months, I'm going to feed, there's 55,000 people coming to this area.
Yeah.
They're the people that I've got to work on. And then I close shop.
Yeah.
Like
for the rest of the year.
For the rest of the year. Just close up and go do something else. And that's what they literally do. So their holiday in summertime is their working time.
Yeah.
So I feel like, you know, we need ways to look at how
they do
how to create, and you can create feasible businesses based on that.
Yeah.
You just got to work with your landlords better, have a better understanding. You know, maybe it's like instead of leasing it for the whole year, you partner in with your landlord and say, okay, this is a 3-month busy season. Instead of me copping a whole rant, like there's different ways that people negotiate these things.
Yeah.
But, you know, seasonal income is always a challenge.
100%.
But you have to be adaptive.
Mm-hmm.
But those people that live in that area, though, that's where it gets difficult. Because if you live there, you're like, how do I survive the whole year just for to make my 3 months worth of income to then go back to nothing? That's the difficulty. But that's an education piece that we can dial into another day. But you live there, and why'd you choose that area?
Snowboarding. So I...
Are you a professional snowboarder?
No, but like long story short, I got really depressed after my degree. I studied environmental science and social science, and after that I went to Myanmar, which used to be called Burma. Went there with Action Aid to as an environmental social scientist to essentially look at mitigating the issues that they were facing due to climate change. So after coming back from Myanmar, I was like shattered. Like I felt like I had shattered my soul because I felt like there was so many issues in the world. And obviously as a uni student who have just like finished uni, I went to that degree not feeling like I was going to save the world, but I like have this like energy that was like really charging. I was like, I'm going to do something. I don't know if it's like whether or not it's environmental or like I could just feel that there was something that I needed to do. And it sounds really cheesy, but it was like an energy that was like going through me.
And that's normal. Like you just all of a sudden you've gone through a journey. Was your degree 3 or 4 years?
4 years, yeah.
4 years. You went through an empowerment in yourself where you had knowledge.
Yeah.
You had case studies that you built on. You built your own sense of beliefs.
Yeah.
Your peers agreed with you. Your lecturers agreed with you.
Yeah.
Everyone gave you this sense of like assurance that you're 100% right.
Yeah.
And funny enough, Nat, this happens in restaurants.
Yes, 100%.
And I'll explain to you how. You could come up with a dish. Your head chef will say amazing. Your peers will say amazing. Your wait staff will say amazing. But the job isn't done yet. You dish it up, you price it up, you do the menu, customers order it, but it's not until that plate comes back to the kitchen is your job done.
Yeah, literally.
And you might dish out 50 that night, and everyone's left the whole plate together, and the whole team's gone, what the hell? Where did we?
It's so heartbreaking. Hey.
Yeah, it is. You have this sense of empowerment, and you think you know it.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot. It happens to me. Happens to everyone.
Happens to everything as well.
The comeback is how you deal with it, right? So how did you deal with that sense of not being able to achieve what you wanted to achieve there?
I just went absolute turbo. So I obviously couldn't achieve the thing I wanted to do. Obviously, everything takes time. There's a lot of patience involved. But I tried non-government organisations. I tried AYCC, which is like the Australian Youth Climate Change Coalition. Tried like Greenpeace. I just tried so many different things. And I was like, this is not the world for me. Like, I want to make change. I want to kind of raise awareness on all these social issues and how connected everything is. It wasn't just about like environmental issues, but it was like about food security. And I was like, I opened a cafe when I was at uni.
You opened one?
Yeah.
Did your parents help you out?
Sort of. I was working really hard. So I opened like a tiny 3x3. It was tiny. Not 3x3, 30 meters square space.
Okay, so 10x3.
Yeah.
It's something like that.
Yeah. It's a tiny space.
Yeah, or 5 by, we can get technical, but guys, 3 meters by 10 meters or 5 meters by 7 meters, like something like that. You'd probably fit like 8 seats.
Yeah, it was tiny. It was an espresso bar, not really a cafe. And that...
is that in Melbourne?
Yes.
Okay.
It was right next to Victoria Market, and that espresso bar was a space that I wanted to create in order to create these like conversations. I had books, and I just wanted to have like a safe space for like uni students to go to. And I'm really into philosophy, so it was a space I wanted people to like form ideas, or they can have a space that they could just chill out on this shared table and hang out with people. But that didn't like work after. I say it didn't work. It finished after 2 years because
Why?
I needed to move forward. I was like, it It was good. It was nice for me to experience it.
Was it generating income?
It was generating income, but not like a huge amount. But
Right.
it was also like pulling me. It was taking too much of my time. Like it felt like I wasn't. I needed to do other things. I could feel that I needed to do other things.
Did you lose any money?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
But the setup was really cheap. Like I had a coffee machine that a coffee supplier supplied the machine for. I had like a really shitty bar fridge, 2-bar fridge.
Mm.
And yeah, it was, and I like got church pews from a church that was like chucking out the pews.
And rent? How much was your rent?
Nothing. It was like $1,000 a month back then.
Right.
When I opened it, I was 19.
So you opened that little place and did it from a bootstrap budget.
Yeah.
How'd you negotiate the thing with the coffee supplier?
Because I was a barista beforehand. So
Okay.
I've been making coffee since 2010.
Mm.
And it was kind of by accident. Like one day the boss was gone. They really need someone on the machine. And I was like, I'm a gun in general. I'm like, I can like whiz around. I'm like a border collie. I can just like whiz around, get shit done so fast.
People, if you don't know what border collie is, it's a breed of dogs in Australia that we use on cattle farms a lot and around farms. So,
Yeah.
and we utilize them to help us out on farm. But yeah,
To herd sheep.
To herd sheep. Yeah.
Especially. And
Yeah.
I feel like that with customers, especially. I could just like, turn over tables, but like in the most natural way possible, like just a front of house person. Like when my parents needed to do it, I was so good at distracting people and making people feel like that was the time for them to leave when I was just trying to
Just create a fuss.
So I had that, and so it wasn't hard to get the coffee supplier. That's like a normal thing anyway. Like if you're selling enough coffee, like it's like 40 kilos a week or whatever contract you like end up signing, they will make sure you have a coffee machine and a grinder.
So let's just dive into that for a second. Doing 40 kilos a week is a lot of numbers.
I don't think it's that
It's
much.
pretty for an espresso bar, it's average.
Yeah.
But for the average person, okay, the average person going into their first business,
yeah.
they don't know what that sort of volume is. How many coffees does a kilo get you
So it's 20 grams for one dose.
if it's dialed in?
I always dial in my coffee.
Right,
No
but
matter
a
what.
lot of people don't.
So it's 20 to 22 grams for one coffee. It depending on what it is, obviously.
Right,
So that's 50 cups.
50 cups.
But there's quite a lot of excess as well, obviously. So let's go 40.
Okay.
40 cups of coffee per kilo.
Yeah.
So
Do you want to do the numbers? Yeah, let's do the numbers for you.
44 fours are 24.
So you're saying
2,400 coffees. That's nothing. 2,400
let's
coffees
talk,
a week
Let's just talk. No, circle back. 1 kilo, you're saying
is about 40 cups.
50 cups. Okay, so you're doing 40 cups. Okay.
Because there's a lot of like, to dial in as well, you waste like 3 shots per head in the morning.
Right. Yeah, so you're going 40. Cool.
Yeah.
So 40 cups
Yeah. Times.
times 10.
Yeah.
Oh, you right? No,
Wait.
thank you. 40 kilos.
40
40 by 40.
4
Yeah.
fours is 16.
Yeah.
So 1,600 coffees
Yes.
a week.
Yes.
That's nothing.
Right. Now, what you need to understand is there are a lot of people that have restaurants, have dessert bars, that want to have coffee.
Yeah.
And this is where they get caught out when they're not doing
The maths.
the volume
Yeah.
and the math. So they'll go sign a contract with anyone.
Yeah.
And how it generally works is in your kilo price, you're paying for the machine.
Yeah.
There's a subsidy going.
Yeah.
No one does anything for free. I don't care what anyone says.
No one
Nobody does anything for free.
Nothing is for free.
Nothing is for free.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
So if you're getting a coffee machine from a supplier and they're giving you a coffee machine and they're giving you a grinder, that's because they're estimating the volume that you're going to have.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've seen deals come about where if the coffee supplier knows that the volume isn't going to hit above 20 kilos, because
Yeah.
there is sites like that,
Yeah.
go for a second-hand machine.
Yeah.
If you go for a second-hand machine that's refurbed with a good grinder,
Yeah.
you'll be covered because then your break fee isn't that hard.
Also, like, you make your money back off coffee machines. They, like, their value just is like everlasting. As long as you look after it, get a service.
If you get a good machine, it's a good machine. And
Yeah.
you make sure you get the right machine.
Yeah.
And Nat was saying before, and me and her had a debate on dialing in the coffee. Nat, can you explain what dialing in the coffee means?
Going back to my coffee days now. So dialing in the coffee is a process that you do every morning, and quite often you do when there's, depending on where you work, but like when there's temperature change, when someone opens the door. So in the morning, quite often, like you walk into your cafe, you you dial in, and you essentially have to like weigh out your total dose, which is about 20 and 22 grams, and then you have to time the total extraction that is coming out of the machine. If you're being very picky, you're looking at your pulse rates, which is the water flow, and then you're looking at the total amount of yield that comes out of the coffee of that like 20 to 22 gram dose. It's a whole science behind it. And you have to quite often, you have to dial in if, say, you suddenly open the door at 11 a.m. because it's too hot and humid, your grind is going to change. And a lot of people think that it's like because your grind has moved or something, but it's actually got to do with like atmospheric pressure and humidity.
Yeah, 100%. It's a science.
It's a full science around it.
Yeah.
And so you got to do this every morning, and sometimes it takes so long. And you're not only doing for espresso, you got to dial in for milk coffees as well. So when you do it for espresso, you might have different like beans, like single origins, and you can't be using the same recipe for like a milk-based coffee espresso shot.
So what have you learned today, folks? Partner with the right coffee supplier who's going to teach you how to dial in your coffee. Don't just buy beans from a wholesaler and just think you can roast it. Look for your coffee partner who's going to assist you through this process, train you up, and every coffee profile is different.
Yes. And what you're describing is the job I was doing before MasterChef.
And what was that?
I was a barista trainer.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And who was that for?
So I was freelancing towards the end, like in New Zealand. But I was working for Code Black, and then I worked for Wide Open Road, and I've done Supreme, All Press,
Nice.
Axel. Like
Wow.
I could just keep naming.
Wow. So you were a barista trainer?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I really want to get my Q grader as well, but it's like it's like becoming a sommelier in like coffee. It's like $3,000 to get your Q grader, and only like 3 people pass a year. Something dumb like that. And before I went on MasterChef, I was actually gonna move to Toronto, go work with this coffee company called Market Coffee, and they were in Toronto, and they were gonna expand essentially in Canada. So I was gonna become their like area barista.
Right.
But before that, I was working for Square One, and I've worked with like Owner Coffee.
And what's your favourite?
I don't have a favorite.
Come on. Okay, you love something.
I love Owner Coffee. It depends on what I'm feeling like. These days, I just drink batch brew because I have a mocha master at home. I used to have a coffee machine in New Zealand, and I used to drink double espressos, but it depends. I have a barista's breakfast for breakfast. I have a double espresso, a long black, and then a batch brew.
Every morning?
Pretty much, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And how long does it take you to get through them?
If I'm working as a barista, it only takes me like 45 minutes. It's most likely back to back. Sometimes I finish with like an oat flat white as like a dessert. And like I say this, I don't eat until like 2 p.m. Now as a chef though, it's even worse. I don't eat until 4:30. It's like some people think like I've been made for this industry, but I'm like, I don't think people realize how hard it was to work as a barista as well. Like you're just so, like people think I'm so fast in the kitchen, but I'm like, it's because you have to be so fast as a barista. Like I used to work in like the middle of the city in Melbourne, and if you're not getting that coffee out in 2 minutes, like people are gonna walk off. Like all the suits, you know, they don't want to wait. Like, and they're not gonna come back as well if you're getting a coffee.
We have the most educated palate for coffee, I believe, in the world.
Yeah.
Australians do.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
And their orders are like getting more complicated.
It depends where you are though. So more suburban areas, it's like complicated with all the alternative milks now,
yeah,
and like different sugars. But now it's actually going back the other way where it's like double espressos, batch brews. The only difference is that there's a lot more like freezer door coffees, like cellar door coffees. Mm-hmm. So those cost like $16 a cup sometimes, you know.
Yep.
And it's yeah, if you don't know the
what you're
difference-
doing with it. Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't know the difference, then like, don't go buy a $16 cup of coffee.
Do you know why Starbucks failed in Australia?
Because it was too consistent. I don't know.
No, actually, no. There's a couple things, and I actually did this as a part of my study when I was finishing my hospitality management degree.
Wait, did it fail in Melbourne?
They failed.
In
No, they failed in Australia.
Oh wow. Okay.
They failed. And I'll say this on the record, they failed. Starbucks has a target to get to 100 stores in any continent, any country that they go to.
That's greedy.
That's their stretch goal is 100 stores.
Yeah.
I think they got to like, don't quote me, but I think it was like 60 to 80 stores, something like that. And they failed, they went backwards. And the reason for that was on a couple notes. Number one, they didn't localize their menu. There was no flat white or long black.
Oh yeah. Wow. Interesting.
Number two, their baristas were like not personable. So you'd be working the floor. You'd see, like you mentioned suits, but we'll play the game suit. You see a guy down, 3 people down who's a regular every day.
Oh, start making it.
You start making the coffee.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen in Starbucks.
Yeah.
And number 3 is the price point.
Was it expensive?
It was more expensive than what you would buy, right? And that's where the competitive advantage was towards our locals, because Starbucks weren't just hitting the mark. We were giving so much more value
Yeah.
for less cost. And these guys are $1 billion company,
Yeah.
and they couldn't make it work.
Yeah. Interesting.
So the family that owns 7-Elevens actually acquired them.
Yeah.
And I think they got like 24 stores now. So they're redoing, rebranding. But that's Starbucks. Then you went into MasterChef.
Yeah.
What the hell got you from barista training, Supreme, all these big brands like Owner? You're about literally to be like a master barista in Australia.
Yeah.
Your plaque was about to go on a wall in the Hall of Fame.
Well, I really wanted to get into like work barista champs, or like, you know, I was competing in New Zealand as well.
Yeah.
Trying to do like latte art competitions. Really good at drawing decks and coffees. Like really good. So many different types of things.
So then you realised that the dick art wasn't working for you? So you went...
No. So I was like fully ready. So I had a working holiday visa, a 2-year holiday visa in Canada that I wasn't going to give up because I paid $2,000 for. Like I've been living paycheck to paycheck just to like sustain a snowboarding lifestyle. Like the pay in New Zealand is shocking. Like my pay cut, the reason why I went to a freelance barista in New Zealand was because the pay for barista was half the price of here. It was like brutal. So I went from getting paid so well in Melbourne to getting half the pay in New Zealand. And I was like, I have to work out a way to live, because the rent was also the same price as Melbourne in New Zealand, in Wanaka. And the produce is like, you know, capsicums were $8 for one. Like,
wow.
Because we were living in the snow town. So had to be really adaptable, started freelancing. And then I was going to go take this job that was offering me like 90 Canadian dollars salary, and I was like, salary for a barista? Yes, like let's go. So I was like ready to go. My best friend was like, you're not going anywhere, like you need to do something with like your food career, because her mum owns a restaurant called Zin House in Mudgee. Okay. And Bronte's my best friend, and she was like, you're so good at making food. She was my housemate as well. And I have a problem, like where the more anxious and stressed out I get, and the sadder I get,
more you cook.
The more I cook. Literally, like,
it's your outlet.
Yeah, like I remember timing myself once, and I was spending like 16 hours a day in the kitchen, just like, and I would like invite people over. People would come through, and I like did not like. It got to a point where I didn't give a shit if people didn't even want to talk to me. Just like take my food and leave. Like it was just my love language. I just like had to make food.
You just had to cook.
I just had to cook. Obviously, spent so much money on like ingredients, but I just had to cook. It was like my thing that I wanted to do.
Where the f*** was our invite?
But it was like it became word of mouth. So like I started doing these potlucks because we lived in such a small town. People were requesting like themes, so like Mexican, Japanese. I started doing ramen.
Were people paying you for this stuff?
So it became a thing where people were like, let's chip in for groceries. So like people, it was like $5 for groceries. Like I didn't make any money off it. I was like, whatever I was spending, I was like dividing it by.
And this was in New Zealand?
Yeah, in Wanaka. And so I was doing that, and then there's a guy who was culinary trained in Melbourne, but he's a Kiwi, and he opened a restaurant called Mutton Bird. and he asked for me to do his wedding in Wanaka at his restaurant. And
Wow.
it went from it was during COVID, so it went from like a 20, maybe 30 packs wedding to like 80 packs. And I was like, what the did I just say yes to? I was like, this is not okay. My mum was in New Zealand at the time because she plays badminton. And she was competing in New Zealand, like doing like her national championship tour. And I was like, Mom, you have to come to Wanaka. I'll pay you. Like, here's my car. Take my car. Like, you can drive around New Zealand. Like, you don't even have to hire a car. Have anything you want. You can have my couch if you want. Like, you have to come help me do this wedding. Because obviously, like, she's runs a restaurant. But she was retired by then. So she was like, what do you mean, like, come do this wedding? And I was like...
Well, this is what happened.
Yeah, I was like, this is what happened. It's only me. It's 80 packs. And I don't have anyone else in the kitchen right now. And so I had my mom, me, I had a KP that was like this 15-year-old kid called Nate who like didn't even work in the kitchen for that long. I don't even know how long he was there for. And then I roped one of my friends to come help. And it was chaos, but I loved it. I was like, I could feel myself like, I kind of like had a taste of what it was like to be in service. And even though it was the most stressful thing, I swore at my mom so much. Like I felt so bad for my mom, but like, she was so chaotic. Like she was using more than pestle on the ground. I still have a picture of her in mid-service, like literally using a mortar pestle in the ground. And I was like in between the stoves. And I was like, Mom, what the are you doing?
We need that photo.
Yeah, I'll show you. And I'm like taking the photo of her and she's just looking at me like smiling. I'm like, don't smile at me like that. Like we're in the middle of service. She's wearing this like a Patagonia jacket. Like it was just so, everything about it was just so it was just so unorganized. And
but was the wedding a success?
Yeah, it was a success. And George and Emma loved it, but like I was so anxious because George and Emma have traveled quite a lot, but their family hadn't eaten like a whole fish before, like deep fried whole fish, or they hadn't eaten like with their hands before, and they wanted to be like that because there was nothing like that in Wanaka. So they're like, we want like sticky rice, we want like all these weird stuff that Wanaka doesn't have. And so people were like, how do I eat this fish? And like they just didn't know what to do with the fish. It was just like, yeah, it was good though. But George also, so George saw the advertisement for MasterChef
Australia
last year, and he was just like, Nat, you have to apply. And I was like, lol, no, I'm going to Canada. Like, I'm not fucking going. I'm not going to go on MasterChef. There's no way. And because I watched my friend Sam Lowe win it in New Zealand. And when I watched it, I was getting anxiety from like the time pressures, from everything. Because when I cook, I like play a mix and like a SoundCloud mix or YouTube mix. And I'm like kind of dancing. That's like my Zen space. So I take ages to cook as well. Like when I tell people that dinner's ready at 6, it would be ready at midnight. Like just like like it was just my space. So I was like, no way. And then I think as a joke, my best friend Bronte
did the application.
And then MasterChef got back to me. And they called me when I had already packed, gotten ready for Canada. And my partner at the time didn't even know I applied. Like, actually, no one. My parents didn't even know. And I was like, so I'm going to Sydney to go audition for MasterChef. And they were like, they thought I was joking. Because it's like such a Nat thing to do as well. It's like the most impulsive decision. And then I did my first round. And then I did my second round. And I genuinely thought I was going to fuck up the first round because I had never made pasta, like ravioli with egg yolk inside. And I did it on the first. I felt bad, but I was kind of taking the piss because I was like, I saw everyone there and I was like, there's no way I'm going to get through with all these people here. Like the lines were huge. There was like, it wasn't just like my time slot that had like 30 people in that kitchen. It was like all day. They were like interviewing and
just churning through people.
Yeah. So like I saw the line and I was like, there's no way I'm getting in. And then I somehow made it through the second one. And then when I got through the second round, I also was like, there's no way I'm going through because there was so many people left. And then I went through.
Wow.
And then I fucking won it. And then like, it's so funny though, because I was so the whole time through MasterChef, I was so sure I was going to be eliminated so early. So I never cancelled my flight. So I just kept pushing my flight back to Canada.
Just so you knew you had something.
Yeah. So
like, you know, if I don't make it, like, my flight's tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever. Yeah. I feel that.
Like me being so stingy and like so like literally stingy at the time. I was like, I'm not wasting that $2,000 I paid for my visa. like I'm getting
That's
my
gonna
ass-
happen.
Yeah, if my job isn't there anymore because I've delayed it for too long, it's okay. Like I'll find work there.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's good. You had an exit strategy.
Yeah.
It's okay.
and
That's
I was
okay.
ready.
Yeah,
I was ready.
it's fine. You have your options open. And going through MasterChef, what did that feel like for you personally? Like, what was that journey like? It would have been a different journey than anything you've ever been on.
Yeah, so I find it really interesting because I feel like I've sugarcoated it a lot, but like MasterChef was I was going through a mental period during MasterChef. So it was like, had a bad breakup in New Zealand, decided I wanted to leave New Zealand for good, and I was like, F this, like the Southern Hemisphere. That's why I was gonna go to Canada. So it's like very impulsive of me, and so MasterChef was kind of a reflective time, but also like a hard time for me psychologically. But it really worked in my favor because I've always practiced cooking when I've just going through so much shit in my head.
Wow.
So like it somehow was like it was like no other space. Like when I walked into that kitchen every day for a challenge, it was like I locked in a whole new version of me that I never knew existed. And it was like went back to the kitchen in New Zealand. Like it was like no one could talk to me. It was, I just loved it.
What was the moment in MasterChef? At what point did you feel like I'm gonna win this fucking thing?
Probably not until like when I was top 5, when I went to Hong Kong, and Vicky Chang at the time, when I went and had to recreate a Michelin star dish, he was being full serious. Like he looked at me, the way I worked, and he was like, you can actually be such a good chef. Like he was like, you're a chef. Like you're a chef already. Imagine what you could become if you just put hours into it. And I was like, in my head, I was like, mate, I've put some hours in.
I put 16 hours. You don't know what Spotify playlist I listen to, bro.
I've got 182 Spotify playlists. Like I have a problem. I'm like, it's so bad. And like all my housemates know, like they have complained about how long I cook for. Like I used to sleep like an average of 3 hours because I'd just be in the kitchen.
And that wasn't a sense because you were in an industry where you had to work. You just did that that was your release.
Yeah, but that was after working as a barista.
Yeah.
So I'd be working like 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. and then I'd go home and just cook all night until like 3 a.m.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a problem.
And you win MasterChef, you take out the title. What was your favourite dish during that period?
It's actually really funny, but the first and the last one.
And why is that? And what was it?
So the first one was the kangaroo larb, the one that everyone kind of like was wowed about. And then the last one for the first challenge before I did like Claire Smith's last 3 Michelin star dessert was the Sayor Scotch egg, which was a Scotch egg with Northern Thai sausage around it, with a very, very typical Thai dip that you would never, ever see in any Thai restaurant here.
Is that something your grandma taught you?
Yeah, my grandma, and like it's what we would eat in northern Thailand. So my parents have a house in Chiang Mai now, and just because
I've been to Chiang Mai.
Yeah,
It's
we
a
all
nice
hate
place.
the heat. But your num prik nom is a charred green chili dip that you smash in mon pestle with lime and roasted garlic and shallots as well. It's so yum. But I was really proud of those dishes because it was like really putting Thai food on the map that was like other food than just like the royal Thai central cuisine. I just really wanted to showcase regional Thai food as well. And it's the stuff that I actually eat and my parents actually eat. But like we don't really eat curries like at all. Like massaman curry, like on the odd occasion. Like I love them. I love pad Thai as well. Like I eat pad Thai quite often in Thailand, but I'm very picky where I go get it, obviously. But all the dips and like the fresh vegetables and like the fermented sausages and stuff like that are all things that, you know, I don't really see much in Thai food here. So, and
Nice.
and I just wanted to show the whole entire world. It was when I realized that I could,
You had a platform there
yeah,
to showcase what you're about.
yeah. And that was, I would thank my dad for that because my dad didn't, honestly, my parents, when I told them I was going to MasterChef, they kind of were like, it was just like, oh, reality TV, whatever. But then my dad went deep into researching on how big the platform was, how many countries it was shown. And then my dad was like, nah, you have such a big responsibility now to put Thailand on the map. And I was like, whoa. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Such a dad, eh?
Yeah.
Such a proud father.
Yeah. And he was just like, this is your chance. Like, Thai food needs to make a comeback because it's kind of plateaued. It's always out in takeaway containers. Like, there's so much more to Thai food. There's so many more stories. Like, we're the only country in Southeast Asia to not have been colonized, you know? It's like there's so much rich history. And it's really interesting because on MasterChef, I was doing so many different dishes and people were like arguing online, like on Reddit. Like, my brother had so much fun reading all the Reddit comments and all the dishes I did. And like, people say not to do it, but I actually like found it hilarious. It means that people were talking about it, you know? And like, I was doing like a Thai version of Hainanese chicken and people were like, that's not even Thai. It's like, yeah, it is. Like, did you know that the biggest population outside of China, like Chinese population, is Bangkok? No one knows that. Like,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And we have so much Chinese food. Like, my grandma was raised on Chinese Thai food. And so like, there's a huge Chinese influence. And then like a lot of our desserts that are egg-based are massively Portuguese because we have a big Portuguese community in Bangkok as well. Wow. But no one knows about that. And people were like, that's Portuguese, that's this, that's that. I'm like,
no, that's Thai.
It's Thai.
And how'd you deal with that hate?
I'm so stubborn, but it fueled me. As in like in a good way. I was like, yeah, I can't wait for people to debate more about this stuff.
Yeah. So you'd harness it.
Yeah.
Put it in your Spotify playlist and just go.
Yeah. I loved it.
You know, the next potential winner is probably watching this.
Yeah.
Crazy. So what's one piece of advice you'd give them? To go out and do their application?
I think just like really, really cook. It's so cheesy, but really cook with your heart and soul. Like you want to feel it like leaching out of your skin. It sounds gross actually. But like, I feel like when I was cooking, it was just all me. That was like, it was all the energy that was flowing out. And I don't know, don't compare. I think what people do quite a lot is like they compare at what other people are doing, at what the industry is doing. But if you're just cooking what you love and you really like what you do and the flavors that are coming out, like I think you can't go wrong.
And that's beautiful, right? And what's next for you? Where are you at now? What's your journey looking like? So
I'm working at Voudemont at the moment. I'm there like, they call me chef de part-time because I'm...
Chef de part-time.
They're actually so nice to me, super patient. But I went there to stage because I went to Core in London. I went to Jamie Oliver's restaurant. I came back and I was like, told Hugh Allen, I was like, I'm not doing fine dining. Like, I love fine dining. I love like, because I feel like the artist side of me kind of likes that kind of particular stuff. But after, you know, seeing the culture and like the really, really long hours, I was like, oh, I don't know about this. Like I told Hugh, I was like, nah, I can't. It's like very, like as a woman as well, I was like, it is intense. Like, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to deal with this, like mentally. And then he was like, nah, like come to Voo, like you'll probably change your mind. And I was like, nah. And he was like, just come try like one day. And I tried one day. I was like, okay, give me a second day. Tried the second day. And then I was like, okay, I'm happy to start here like 3 days a week. Like, I don't care. I can work as a barista until I work out what to do. And they offered me a job. So I work there when I'm in Melbourne. But then when I'm not in Melbourne, I'm just hustling. Like, I'm doing pop-ups. So I just did my first docu-series.
Well,
in
congratulations.
Seoul. Yep. Fully funded that because, you know, I was very stubborn about wanting to do my own thing. Wanted to kind of like try and pitch this idea to the world where I wanted to showcase the hardships of hospitality, but then the fun stuff, but then like all the prep that's involved and the importance of like honoring place and time of each country and their produce. So like not going to a place like South Korea and be like, this is my food and this is the ingredients that I'm going to bring in, but rather it's more like,
what's the ingredients I can have there?
Yeah.
What's the culture about?
Yeah. And then adapting it.
And adapting it with your little flair.
Yeah, exactly. So I did that in Hong Kong as well. And I want to try and keep doing that because it really helps me become more creative as a chef. It helps me become better as a chef, like delegating, learning how other kitchens work. And I am such an adaptive person. And I'm always so surprised how adaptive I am every time I go to a country and do a pop-up. I'm like, literally, there's like a little mini proud moment where I'm like, I don't know how I do that. But so that side is like taking the creative side, taking like, you know, it's a reminder that I can cook. And then like doing Vue de Monde is literally just trying to become a better chef in like that kind of area. But then like at home, I'm like practicing how to like rocher and canal. Like I don't think people realize, but like, and so many people forget this, but I went on MasterChef as a home cook. Like my knife skills are shocking. Like they're actually so bad. So like I'm spending so much time like learning how to, you know, use a turning knife because I didn't know what a turning knife was. I'm trying to like brunoise shallots, learning like all the different terms. Like I didn't realize that I was emulsifying like ages ago, but like, you know, learning like the proper terms and how to do it, learning how to make ice creams, and honestly practicing rochering, like especially for Vue de Monde, like when we're rochering into our soufflés, it's really embarrassing if you do something that looks like a poo and you're putting it into the chocolate soufflé. It's a double chocolate soufflé. It's like, it doesn't look pretty. So
it's like a stale shit with a fresh shit on top. It's better that, look, you went from dicks to shits. It's all good.
Oh my God.
It's a transition.
So much for that PR training.
Yeah.
So I want to practice my rochers, but like just things like that and really putting the hours in. It's become a problem at the moment though, because I get really obsessed, and I wouldn't say I'm like a perfectionist, but I want to be better. But it's become a problem where at the moment I'm like drawing and recreating dishes at home. I can't sleep. I'm like, I get home from Vue and I'm like rochering. I wake up in the morning and I'm cutting onions. Like I'm just like.
But you know, Nat, like I'm not trying to say this in any bad way, and I'm all for work-life balance. But if you want something, it's only one way that you're going to get it.
Yeah.
And you got to put in the hours. You got to put in the time. And if you don't, but it's very critical that the time that you're putting in is effective.
Yeah.
And that comes with maturity.
Yeah.
You've burnt hours before. You've burnt time doing stupid shit.
Yeah.
Right? Let's come to that.
Yeah.
But now what you're doing is you're catching up with your skill set. You've gone through a competition, faced the public eye, gone through media training, your whole world tipped upside down, okay? And I see a lot of hospitality professionals, we sit at the table every day. I'm telling you now, and I'm calling this out, you're going to be probably one of Australia's best chefs. Hands down. I'll say it to you now.
No pressure.
No pressure, no. And it's the same pressure that your dad's giving you, but I'm telling you now because I can call it when I see it, and this is truthful. If you stay to what you're doing, you know the level of what burns yourself out. Yeah. You know that level of burning yourself out. You've gone through anxiety. You've gone through depression. You've gone through that hardship. But what you're doing is you're cultivating your skills. You're building your toolbox. You're sharpening your knives. You're not doing anything wrong.
That's how I became so good at making coffee. Like I literally Code Black had like a coffee machine behind that was like, you know, if you want to get better, it's up to you. If you want to get into the world championships, if you want to get to, you know, the level that you want to be, you can go after hours and practice. And that's all I did. And like, I like literally was so embarrassed because my latte art wasn't symmetrical. And I like literally like just forced myself in 1 week to make the most perfect symmetrical latte art. And just because I was like, no, I'm not having half-ass shit. It's like,
that's amazing. My only recommendation is just always check in with yourself.
Yeah.
And make sure that you keep a healthy lifestyle. Ivan Brahim from our friend in Singapore, he literally says, remember to drink water, go to the toilet and eat.
Yeah.
And breathe.
Yeah. I'm bad at breathing in eating.
You should breathe. Try some breathing exercises. No. Seriously, breathing helps. Breathing helped me. Like sometimes I'd have like miniature panic attacks with certain things, but you just need to breathe. Yeah. And if you learn how to breathe,
it helps so much.
It helps so much.
Yeah.
Generally.
I do this thing with all my friends and family, and it's funny because it's spinning the other way. But like I would always ask people on like on a scale of 0 to 10, how satisfied are you with your life? And then I'll ask them, what do you need more of in your life? And then what do you need less of in your life? And then I ask them on a scale of 0 to 10, how happy are you? Because it's different to satisfaction. And then they always get stunned. They're like, oh, I just answered like the satisfaction like it was happiness, but it's so different.
Wow.
So different.
Do you ask that to yourself?
I don't, but like I'm trying to. But like a lot of people have been asking me that because I haven't really stopped for like a while now, and I think people can feel it because like, you know, I'm just very like.
Well, we had Morgie on the pod not long ago.
Yeah.
And if you listened to that pod, you would have learned something.
Yeah, I did.
Stop and smell the roses.
Yeah, exactly.
And what's next for you after this? What do you think? What's on your peripherals? What do you want to do?
I'm writing a book.
Nice.
A cookbook.
Beautiful.
So that comes out in November.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so that's really exciting. It's actually probably one of the things that have been in the back of my mind the most so, and is like driving the most of my anxiety, because it's like, no one has written a cookbook, like a Thai cookbook with this many regional stuff since David Thompson. So that's a lot of pressure. And also two, I'm like, it's a really adaptive way of approaching Thai food as well. So the idea is that you can make Thai food everywhere and anywhere. So I feel like Thai people or people in general might be like, you can't do that. You can't just adapt that ingredient with that ingredient. But to me, the whole point is that you can still make Thai flavors. Like I could make Thai flavors in Seoul with their produce, and their produce isn't even close to Thai produce. You know what I mean? It's just like how to understand the flavors.
We've got to do a Jordanian one.
Yeah, we should. Honestly, I'm meant to be going to Kazakhstan, so like that would be interesting as well.
Amazing.
In the middle of nowhere. But yeah, so the cookbook, and I want to try and do more pop-ups. I need to go to Thailand and, meet everyone there, because everyone's very excited to meet me.
One more question I have for you.
Oh, God.
Look in that barrel of the camera. If there's something you could have told yourself a year ago before all this, what's one piece of advice you would have told yourself?
Be kind to yourself and be proud of yourself. Way too hard on myself.
Be kind to yourself and be proud of yourself, Nat.
Yeah.
Congratulations again.
Thank you
so much. We can't wait for the book launch. Keep us posted. We'll share it around. I want a signed copy.
Yes.
And I want to try some food. I'm going to come over when I come to Melbourne.
Yeah.
And you're going to cook for me after 6 hours.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I love it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.